All right, we are live on the Reese Report. I am joined by Tony Barbosa. We are here to make our Week 15 picks. I was hoping to have Gil and Jose on the show, but they are not with us today. I'm not exactly sure why, so I can't tell you. But they're not here. So for our first live show, we'll have Tony Barbosa, and we'll do a 1v1, which is just fine. Gives us plenty of time to talk to each other about the NFL, about these
Let's
games,
do it.
and we may even do a surprise topic because the Toronto Blue Jays management is irritating me, and I need to get something off my chest regarding that. And so we'll talk about that as well. But we're going to try to do more live shows so that there's less break in the action. We can talk more about it and then release the show after. If you're live with us here, post a comment. Let us know you're here. Hope you're watching live on the Reach Report. I did post that we were going to go live. So here we are. And like I said, enjoy the show. Barbosa, are you ready to go? We're going to start this week with what happened this past week in the NFL.
Let's do it. Let's go.
All right, Barbosa, earlier this year, you told me the Atlanta Falcons solved their quarterback problem. I'm just going to give you some stats, and then you tell me whether they've solved their problem or not. In the last four games, Kirk Cousins has thrown zero touchdowns and eight interceptions. He's fumbled the ball four times. They're 0-4 in those games. Um, they got beat up 42-21 by the Minnesota Vikings, his former team, who, by the way, have Sam Darnold and are a whole lot better without him. Is it time to admit, Barbosa, that the Falcons have not solved their quarterback issues and should go to Michael Penix?
I ah, I want to say no, but those are very, very telling stats, especially the last four games. Um,
Zero touchdowns, eight interceptions.
Kirk,
Like,
Kirk,
that's bad.
but Kirk Cousins always has these games, and then all of a sudden he whips out like two games that he's unbelievable, two or three games that he's unbelievable. So it's hard to say. I did have him to win the division. I did.
Not
Um,
looking good.
no, I think the Bucks are starting to roll again. So I don't know, man. It's gonna be tough. I still say it's gonna come down to the last game of the season. I believe it'll still come down to the last game of the season. I have a feeling Kirk Cousins will have one of those bounce back games. Um, I don't know if it will
Okay.
happen this week, to tell you the honest truth.
Yeah, we'll talk
Um,
about that game later. That's a very interesting game now that Desmond Ritter's
yeah,
starting for Vegas. So
yeah.
this could be
This
what a
could be a
game
game,
that's going to
but
be.
this could be a game that he throws for four tutties and he throws for 400 yards because he's done that. So we'll see. We'll
Yeah.
save that. We'll save that for the pick.
All right. Let me rephrase this. Jason Whitlock, I want to give him credit for this because he asked this question on Twitter. So Jason Whitlock, you get credit for this. Has any quarterback in the NFL made more money not winning an important game than Kirk Cousins?
Ooh. Mm,
My answer is yes, by the way.
I no, I don't think so.
Yeah, there's not been
I don't
another
think so.
quarterback. I mean,
Uh,
name the game he's won.
in the last two contracts, no, I was gonna say Daniel Jones, but in the last two contracts, he made quite a bit of money. Kirk Cousins.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna say no. There's no other quarterback.
All right,
What's
now,
Aaron Rodgers? I don't know what's Aaron
yeah,
Rodgers' salary.
Aaron is
Yeah,
at
I don't know if he's getting
40.
as much as Kirk Cousins though.
I think Aaron's at 40 or 40, actually 45 million a season. That's what he's making, I believe.
You know what? Ask me that question in 2 or 3 years
Yeah.
because
Well,
there's somebody else that you can say you could be making a lot of money and not win big games. You know what I'm talking about?
yeah, yeah. Well, I think it's Cousins right
So-
now.
Huh?
But I think it's Cousins right now. But
In 2 or 3 years, ask me that same question
okay.
because there's somebody in the Dallas Cowboys that's got to pay a lot of money and I don't know if he's won big games.
He could take over that
Yeah,
list. Absolutely, he could. Wow, he's making 60 million a year, Mr. Dakota. So,
yeah,
yeah, that's a
exactly.
possibility.
So
Okay, so last question before we move on to the picks. Last year, Barbosa, if you recall, we did a show on Justin Herbert, and I asked the question: Is he the most overrated quarterback in the NFL? You guys had your takes. You disagreed. I gave my reasons why, and you guys both said he needs a new coach. He has a new coach. His name's Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh's fixed the defense, and he's definitely turned them into a running team. But in the last few weeks, has turned it into a passing team. And he said himself that he hasn't had a better quarterback than Justin Herbert. My question to you is: I still believe he's overrated because people have him in the top 7 of the league. But let me put it to you this way: when is he ever going to win a big game? Because I can't recall a big game that he's won, and I don't recall him winning a playoff game ever. And so, how can you be a top 7 quarterback when you never win a big game? I'm just throwing it out there, Barbosa. Like, is that fair or foul?
it's his talent a lot because a lot of people like his arm. Um, but right now, because he had a chance last week, I believe he did
Did
have a chance last week to do it, to show that he belongs up there, and he fell short, especially against KC, because KC looks a little bit vulnerable. Yeah,
Yep.
but are they vulnerable? Because it's already been, what are we, week 13, week 14 now?
Yeah, they're 11-1, 12-1. Yeah.
Well, yeah. And all their games have been pretty tight, and they've won all their games. So to say that
Yeah.
Kansas City is lucky to win those games, listen, the Patriots have done it. They've had seasons like this, and they still won the Super Bowl. So, um, in saying that, that was a big game for not only for Justin Herbert. I think it was a big game for Jim Harbaugh too, to show that he is a great coach, and didn't end up winning that game. Which I did have the Chargers to win that game. I thought the Chargers were going to win it,
Yeah. We
but
both did.
I still say they're missing a few pieces. I don't think the Chargers are ready to contend yet.
Right.
And I think at the beginning of the year we kind of said that the Chargers were going to be a wild card team if they made the
Mm,
playoffs. I
yeah.
don't. We kind of said that they don't have that much talent around Justin Herbert, so um, they are slotted where they should be. But it was a game that they could have really made a statement to the rest of the NFL.
Yeah. I
So
just don't think I don't think Justin Herbert should be automatically put in the same category as the best quarterbacks in the league. I just don't think that's right.
uh, well, okay. Let me ask you this right now. Name me name me six quarterbacks that you would take ahead of him.
Okay, Mahomes, Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. Let me think. Jordan Love, Jared Goff.
Uh, well, hold on.
Um,
Would you take Jordan Love?
yeah, I take Jordan Love. I watched Jordan Love last year lead a team that had no business winning the games that they won. I saw him go
Hold
beat
on.
Kansas City last year. I saw him beat up Dallas in the playoffs. Justin Herbert hasn't done that yet, and he's been in the league
But
7 years.
put Justin Herbert with those receivers.
Yeah, but he had okay. Here's that. This is where the argument. See, he had Allen and Williams in their prime for years, and they didn't win a thing. So
Hey,
you
can I
can't
ask?
have it both
Well, hold
ways.
on,
You
hold
can't
on,
blame the
hold
coach
on.
and then blame that he doesn't
But
have any players.
but he had a terrible coach.
Okay, but
See,
let me give you an
there's
example.
a lot of going
Jo-
for him. Don't get me
Josh
wrong.
Allen's doing it with no receivers, right? Patrick
There's a
Mahomes is
lot
doing it with no receivers, right? Like we gotta be fair now. If you're gonna be put into that category,
but
you can't be relying on weapons to be good.
true, I get it, 100%. But he's also have a but Patrick Mahomes this year he has something that he's never had in his career. Is a
Well, I'll say
defense.
defense. Yeah, so does the Chargers, right? But they lose
Yes,
games
yes,
17-15 and
yes,
17-16 because he doesn't score enough. And that's my problem. They lost the game to Arizona 17-15 because he kicked 5 field goals. Like he should be
yeah.
able to get the ball in the end zone, and that's my problem with him is that too many times over the years, and you can blame Staley if you want, but he puts them in a position to kick a field goal and not score a touchdown. And that's happened a lot in the last few years. Every time they're in a
Well,
position to win a game, they kick a field goal
I
or don't kick a field goal and miss. I mean,
it's a because it, with him, I don't think. Yeah, okay, I see your point that he's not a quarterback to lead a team to a win, like a Josh Allen, like a Patrick Mahomes, like Joe
yeah.
Burrow.
Like I haven't seen it yet. I just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I haven't seen it yet. Um,
Like
I've
I saw
I've
Jordan Love like beat Kansas City last
yeah,
year and go to Dallas and destroy the Cowboys. I don't think
yeah.
Justin Herbert has a playoff win. Does he have a playoff win yet? I don't think he does.
I don't think
So
so. I don't think so.
yeah, because remember they're up 27-0 and lost to the Jaguars.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
So I need to see more from Justin Herbert. That's all I'm going to
yeah.
say.
Okay. Yeah, I
Um,
see your point. Yeah,
right? People get on Brock Purdy, and I'm not saying that Brock Purdy's better than him because there's a talent difference. But I'm looking at Brock Purdy, and he's winning games in the playoffs. Now, you want to say he has weapons and a better team, fine. But like, I need to see that from Herbert at least once. Like he hasn't done it once. Give me one big
yeah,
win. Give me one playoff win. Give me one
yeah, yeah.
game where you
Give me,
actually
yeah,
win it.
I agree with you
You
there.
know, you know what I
Let's
mean?
see it in the
But
playoffs. I
yeah,
agree. I'll still say the Chargers will make the playoffs. Um,
yeah, I think they will. Denver and the Chargers look like they might make the playoffs. So
and let's see them against Baltimore. Let's see them against.
yeah, yeah, they
Uh,
got a big game this week that we're going to talk about. See how they do
yeah,
there, right? All
yeah,
right, guys. I was going to ask about Bill Belichick, but we'll talk about that later. Belichick took a job with the North Carolina football team. I was going to ask Barbosa, about Bill and the fact that he took a college job at age 72, and the likeliness is he wasn't going to get an NFL job again where he has full control of the team. So he decided to take full control of a college team instead. I said last year and predicted that he would not get another NFL job, and I was proven correct because at 72, it's very unlikely he'll be back in the league after taking a 5-year deal with North Carolina. So I was right. We don't have to talk about anything else about it. Belichick is a guy that has to have full control, or he's not going to coach the team. So
yeah.
that just wasn't going to happen in Dallas. It didn't happen in Atlanta, which is why they chose Raheem Morris. And there just isn't another team that's going to give up that kind of control. So
And the Jets. I think the Jets also might have sniffed Belichick, but
yeah, yeah,
I think that owner likes a little bit of the control too. I think they
yeah.
would butt heads. So yeah,
All right,
and
let's get into
definitely
the
that
picks.
Dallas job. No,
No,
him and
no.
Jerry Jones would not get along.
The Cowboys are so bad, it wouldn't shock me if they brought back Mike McCarthy. That's how bad they are. But we'll get into Dallas later. Let's talk about the games, the picks, and then we'll talk about the teams as we go along, as we have lots of time to talk about the games this week. Let's start with the
Yep.
biggest game of the week, in my opinion, Barbosa, because you can see in my background, this is the biggest game of the week for me. The LA Rams, who I did not see this coming, put up 44 on the Bills, 37 by the offense and 7 from a block punt. Puka Nacua went absolutely crazy. And Kyron Williams got going, had his usual game, and they just killed the Bills defense. Matthew Stafford put on a show. They won 44-42. Josh Allen had 6 total touchdowns and still didn't win, which is incredible. But they blew the game
I
at the
think he
end by
cemented
trying to.
his MVP. I think he
Yes,
cemented his MVP in this game, even though they
yeah,
lost. But I think
Well,
I think
what happened was a bad play call, Barbosa. They had a chance to score at the end, and they decided to do a sneak, and that ran the clock down another 40 seconds. So they shouldn't have done that. That cost them a chance to either win or tie the game. And so, yeah, I think Allen's gonna win MVP this year. Now, excuse me. The only problem is they go to Detroit this week, which we're going to talk about later. And if they lose to Detroit, that could cost them some votes, and it could put Jared Goff in the conversation. So we'll get to that. So
yeah.
it's not over. It's not over, but Josh has the lead right now, and I think Saquon Barkley has a real chance of winning it as well. And so we'll get to them later
You'll
on in the
get to
show.
that.
So the Rams go to San Francisco to take on my 49ers, who predictably rebounded last week going back home to the sunshine of California, playing the awful Bears and Caleb Williams. Did you know, Barbosa, the Bears had 4 yards passing at the half last week? 4. Like, they
I don't
fired their
think that's
coach,
the
and
first time. I don't
yeah,
think
it's
that's the
not the
first time
first
they did it
time.
this year.
They did it against Detroit the week before, or 2 weeks ago. 4 yards of
Yeah,
passing in the first half.
yeah.
Um, they fired Eberflus and got worse somehow. Don't ask me how. They're gonna need that. That's a place I thought that Belichick would really consider, because if you're gonna take over a team, the Bears is a prime candidate, but I guess not. But they're gonna need
Mm.
whole new coaching over there. So this is a huge, huge game for the 49ers. Um, if they don't win this game, they're out of the playoffs. I'm going to say it, even though they wouldn't be mathematically eliminated if you get swept by the Rams and the Seahawks are at 8-5 after beating the Cards last week. You're not making the playoffs out of that division. So this is a must-win. The Rams are hot, but the 49ers owned this team before that loss that they had without the Avengers earlier in the season. I gotta admit, I'm a little bit you know, a little bit of this pick is my heart, but I think there's a way the 49ers can win this game. The Rams have been very inconsistent this year with or without the Avengers, and I just think San Francisco shows up and really, makes it interesting in the NFC. So I'm going to take the 49ers. Who do you got, Barbosa?
Mm. This is tough because this is a division game, and in the beginning of the year I did have the 49ers winning the division. But man, ah, God. But the Rams, that with that offense healthy, it's gonna be tough to stop, especially with Puka Nacua. It seems like he looks like 100% healthy now, and Cooper Cup. Um, and the Niners came off an impressive win against the Bears. Um, I I think I'm gonna go with the Rams. The reason why, I think McCaffrey is a big loss on that offense. I still say McCaffrey's a huge loss
Well, we're on our
for
fourth
the
string
Niners
running back,
offense.
Barbosa. We're on our fourth stringer, so
Yeah, he's a big loss. I still say he's a big loss to your offense. Um,
yeah.
that that's the yeah, that's the only reason why I'm gonna go with the Rams, because I think the offensively, if Purdy can keep up with Matthew Stafford, yeah, but I don't know. I don't know if Purdy can do it though.
This
I
is the
don't know.
game where
Without
you get paid.
McCaffrey, I mm, yeah,
If
I'm
you're
gonna go with the
Brock Purdy,
Rams.
yeah, I understand because we're on our fourth string. We got some guy named P. Taylor starting for us. We got 3 running backs
Yeah,
out with injuries. We have wide
and you
receivers
know
hurt.
what? A- And 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 I think Ayuk is also an underrated loss for you guys. I think Ayuk is a big
Well,
loss.
Jennings has been great, but Debo has not been great, and he's already voiced the fact that he's not getting football. So there's some issues there. But like,
Yeah,
if you're Brock Purdy and you want to get paid, this is a game you have to win. Simple as
yeah,
that, right? Everyone says you're
yeah,
nothing without the Avengers. Well, you have Ayuk out, you have McCaffrey out, and you've got Jennings and Kittle to throw to. You got no running back. Like your defense is hurting. If you want to get paid, this is a game you have to win. And so
Yeah, I think
30,
yeah, I agree because the Rams defense is not the greatest either,
no, it's not.
but that offense is deadly. So you gotta score points against that
Yeah,
Rams because
yeah,
if the Rams just start scoring points, it's gonna be tough.
yeah. Especially without Bosa. So we'll see. It's going to be that will be glued to my TV for that one tomorrow, guys. But we'll
Yeah.
see. It's a tough one, but I just believe the 49ers will not get swept at home by
If
the
they were
Rams.
fully healthy, if the Niners were fully healthy, I definitely take the Niners. That's
Yeah,
no doubt about it. I would,
yeah,
but I just think McCaffrey's a big loss
yeah,
because he
yeah,
does everything. He runs the ball, he catches the ball out of the backfield.
yeah,
So it's a big loss.
yeah. Later on,
And it
guys.
shows on the record. Let's be honest, it shows on the record. Your record's 6-7.
Yeah, I
The
mean,
Niners record 6-7. So
it's been a rough year for the 49ers on and off the field.
yeah,
Now, for those looking for the other guys' picks, we'll give them to you after the show. We're just going to talk about our picks this week, and then we'll post Jose and Gil's picks after the show. If you want to know what the records are, Jose took a 3-game lead into this week after winning 11 games to my 9. Barbosa had 8 and Gil had 8. So he holds a 3-game lead over me, 8 over Barbosa, and 13 over Gil. So let's get to Sunday. Every team is playing this week, no buys. So, oh boy, the Dallas Cowboys. Barbosa, just when you think a team can't lose a game any different or any weirder, you get the Cowboys who find ways to lose games in the weirdest way. Games tied 2020 on Monday night with the Cincinnati Bengals. They block a punt. All they got to do is not touch the ball. They get the ball at the 40-yard line. They can kick a field goal and win the game or go in for a touchdown. And one of the Cowboys tries to be a hero, muffs the ball, and gives it to the Bengals, who then take it in with Chase and Burrow going mental again. By the way, I had a 60-point lead in my fantasy pool, never thinking at all it would ever get close. I had first place on the line in this, and Burrow and Chase came within a point of knocking me off. I had a 70-point lead. They got 69 points.
wow.
So so I won first place in fantasy by 1 point over because of those two guys almost beating me. I had a lot on the line. So boy, those Cowboys, they almost cost me the fantasy draft. But they go to Carolina to take on the Panthers, who are playing a lot better. Bryce Young is looking good. They had their own heartbreak last week in a losing effort. Um, this is gonna make people laugh, but the Cowboys stink. Um, I don't like Cooper Rush. Rico Dowdle has ran the ball well, but I actually like a lot of the way Carolina looks a lot better. I like how Hubbard's running the ball. Carolina came within a dropped pass of beating the Eagles in Philadelphia. I got Carolina. Barbosa.
I'm gonna take the Cowboys. I still defensively, they're still better defensively. Um, yeah, I want to say they're still better defensively. So, um, yeah, I'm gonna take Cooper Rush, which is CD Lamb is questionable. Oh,
Yeah. Well, he'll probably
yeah,
play.
I'll stick with the Cowboys. I'll stick with the Cowboys. I just think they have better talent all around,
Yeah.
and their defense is better than Carolina's.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
and
All right.
they're playing on the road, right? Yeah,
Yeah. They're better on the road, Dallas. Yeah.
yeah, they're playing on the road. Yeah, so.
Yeah. I
I'll
mean,
take the Cowboys just because on the road. If it was at home, I don't know because they stink at home. They stink at home. So no, I'll take the Cowboys.
I'd like to. I'd like to thank Morty for coming on and giving us. I know who this is. Uh, Thank you, Chris, for coming on and watching. I wish he was on the show too, but he probably fell asleep, and I don't know if Gil's getting drunk or what's happening with him. But he told me he couldn't come on at 9 o'clock. So, Barbosa, we're going to get to the most annoying team in the NFL. Can you take a guess who the most annoying team in the NFL is?
I don't know. Who's the most annoying team?
The Kansas City Chiefs. They're the
Who?
most annoying. The Kansas City Chiefs, the most annoying team in the NFL. They're going to Cleveland to take on the Browns. The Kansas City Chiefs found a way to win another game last week, doinking a kick off the upright to beat the Chargers. Once again, the Chargers have a chance to win the game. They kick a field goal instead of scoring a touchdown. I understand they're without Lad McConkey, but same old story with the Chargers. They kick field goals instead of going for touchdowns, and that's why they lose. Mahomes once again makes another nice play to Kelsey, runs the clock down, and they get the doink and win the game by a point. I think the Chiefs are frauds. I really, really don't think this team is that good this year. I think they'll get beat in the playoffs, but I said this last year and they won the Super Bowl. So I just don't think they're as good this year. I think, you know, they're they're good. Their luck's going to run out eventually. However, they're going to Cleveland to take on the Browns. And while Jameis Winston is really great to listen to, I don't trust him on the football field. So I got the Chiefs. Barbosa.
KC. I'm gonna take KC. Um, Listen, the Patriots have been down this road before where they've won close games. There was that season that nobody thought they were going to win the Super Bowl just because the talent wasn't there. They found ways to win close games. Everybody said, no, they're not winning it because they were winning close games. It's not. Comes to the playoffs, teams know how to win. These teams know how to win. And that defense, and every year is the same. When you get to the Super Bowl, defense always ends up winning the Super Bowl. The team with the
Yeah,
defense always ends up with Super Bowl. And I don't think there's a quarterback that you want with 2 minutes left in the game other than Patrick Mahomes right now.
yeah,
So, and saying that they're still the best team in football right now. Well, record wise, so you know what can you
yeah.
say? What can you
See
say
the
about
pro-
KC?
see the problem
They
is
got the
Barbosa
best.
is
They
that
got the best player in football
yeah.
right now. They
No,
still got the
I
best player in
understand.
football.
The problem Barbosa is this: is you're right in that if you look at the other teams in the AFC, they all have defensive problems. The Bills, they just gave up 44. Baltimore
Yeah,
is one of the worst defenses in the NFL for through the
especially
past,
their secondary.
right?
Their secondary is
Um,
terrible.
Now, Pittsburgh could be scary for them. I think Pittsburgh can really give them something to worry about, especially if the game is, in Pittsburgh somehow. I don't that won't happen though. But even on the road, I think Pittsburgh can give them some problems. Denver, whose defense can be scary, they should have beaten them in Kansas City. They had a field goal blocked, obviously. The Chargers, I thought, would give them a lot of problems, which they did, but the Chargers don't know how to score touchdowns. And so you look at it and it's like, well, they can win again. They can look as bad as they want. They can win by 1 point as much as they want. They can get lucky. But at the end of the day, they can still win it because they know how to win games at the end of the game. So,
The
um,
only team that I can see in the AFC beating the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs is the Buffalo Bills.
yep,
That's it. I don't see
absolutely.
Baltimore because Lamar Jackson hasn't showed that another guy hasn't showed that he can win those
Yeah,
big games. Yeah, he's won a couple playoff games,
yeah,
but when it comes to against teams that are supposedly better than Baltimore, I just don't
yeah.
see it happen.
And Houston's
So
been a
the only team
disappointment.
really that gives them a chance, and they have the best chance, is the Bills.
Yeah, and Houston's been a disappointment this year. I don't think they're beating the Chiefs either. So anyway, we'll see. Let's get to a game that is going to determine some playoff spots. The Miami Dolphins go to Houston to take on the Texans. Texans coming off a bye at 8-5, look to be a lock to win the division, although the Colts can still possibly catch them. and have another game with Houston, I believe. Or have they played them twice already? Have they played Houston twice
Yeah,
already? Yeah, so
yeah, I
Houston's
think so.
pretty much they're pretty much a lock to win that division unless they completely
Yeah.
fall apart. Um, the Dolphins at 6-7 still have a chance to make the playoffs. I believe they're 6-7 now, and um, are hanging on by a thread. Very tough game because Houston has been very inconsistent this year, as have been the Dolphins. The Houston defense has struggled at home this year. We saw Tennessee go in there and win a couple of weeks ago. I'll start with you first, Barbosa. Who do you got here? Dolphins at Texans. I'd like to thank Massimo for tuning in. Thanks a
I
lot,
was gonna
buddy.
say the Dolphins, but both Waddle and Tyreek Hill are questionable. Um, so wow. And I haven't liked Houston this year at all. Houston seems very inconsistent. I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know, man. I think they kind of messed up with Stephon Diggs, to tell you the honest truth. I don't
Well,
think.
you got hurt. You got hurt on
I
a
think
non-contact injury, right? So
I think bringing him in might have kind of hurt the team a little bit because they don't look right. That
mm.
offense doesn't look right either.
But it's Stroud, Barbosa. Stroud's had a sophomore slump. There's no question about it. And their
Yeah,
offensive line is not good.
I'm gonna take Houston. I'm gonna take Houston because just because they're at home. But it does kind of scare me though because Miami, in cold weather, Miami doesn't forget it. But it's a dome game, and if
Yeah,
those two receivers, if they do play, oh, I'm gonna take the Texans, but very hesitant
yeah.
just because they're at home.
You and I were kind of thinking the same way there. I took Houston to win the division. I still think they'll win the division.
Yeah,
And I look at that Houston defense, and if Mayonnaise got beat them in Houston, I think that there's no reason why Tua, who's played well, can go into Houston and win with those receivers. I got Miami for the upset. I just Houston has disappointed me this
I
year.
can see it.
I mean
Yeah,
I just you would think coming off a bye they would be a lot better and they would win this game, but I'm unconvinced by Houston. I need to see more from them. And what I've seen from Miami is they can at least score touchdowns. And Houston is really struggling at home. They couldn't stop Tennessee at the end of that game. So I got the Dolphins. If one thing you can rely on Miami, it's their offense. So I expect them to win a high scoring affair.
yeah.
Oh, let's get to the Bengals, the Bungles, whatever you want to call them. Barbosa, I'm not going to get on you for your MVP pick. Joe Burrow has not been the problem, although he does turn the ball over a bit too much for my liking. There were two opportunities the Cowboys had to pick up fumbles and didn't off of Joe Burrow. So they almost gave away that game to the Cowboys. That would have been a really bad loss for them. But he has played well this year. They go to Tennessee to take on the Titans, who are a very unpredictable team. They found a way to lose at home to the Jaguars and Mac Jones last week. Having said that, I cannot see anything in my mind that says that the Tennessee Titans are going to be able to outscore the Bengals, and therefore I have the Bengals. Who do you got, Barbosa?
I got the Bengals, and me picking Joe Burrow as MVP. If they had a defense,
They have no
if the
defense.
Bengals had a defense, honestly, Joe Burrow might be winning MVP because he has 33 touchdown passes, 6 interceptions, got 3,700 yards, and their record is 5-8. Okay,
Yeah,
when your quarterback plays like that, and your wide receiver, he's probably the best wide receiver in the NFL right now. I don't think there's even a debate.
yeah.
There's an issue, big issue,
Well, their defense is only going
big
to get
issue.
worse because they've got to pay Chase and figure out what they're doing with Higgins as well.
I think Higgins gonna be out because obviously they're gonna pay They're gonna pay Jamar Chase. Um, but I'm gonna take the Bengals. I don't like Tennessee. I told you guys I'm not a big Tennessee fan, so
So
no.
just
Give me the Bengals.
we have three guys tuning in, and just to respond to them a little bit, I want Gil too, guys. I didn't choose for him to not be on the show today. Believe me, I wanted Gil and Josie on this show today. This was the whole idea to bring them on live, but I can't control people who fall asleep or get drunk. Um, so let's go to the next game. The Washington Commanders, led by Jaden Daniels, who is having quite a race with Bo Nix for Rookie of the Year. They go to New Orleans to take on the broken Saints, who don't have a quarterback, are missing their top wide receiver, and have just Kamara and not much else. Having said that, this is a massive game for the Washington Commanders, who likely will not win the division, but have a really good chance at making the playoffs at 8-5. I've got the Commanders. Barbosa.
I'm gonna take the Commanders also. Um, I'm not a fan of the Saints. Uh, so yeah, no Commanders.
Yeah, the Saints, like, they tried to lose to the G-Men last week. They tried to lose that game. It's like I
Yeah,
don't understand. They have a 14-3 lead, and they almost allowed the Giants to come back. I think what happened at the end, they blew it at the end. They missed a 20-yarder at the end. I think a 20-yard field goal. Like the Giants,
they're very. I don't know. It's a very weird team. That's a very
yeah,
weird team.
yeah.
You would think
They've got
they'd be a lot better than what they are, especially with Carr and
yeah, but Carr's
Kamara.
not good.
I know they're
Carr's not good.
injured, but still, like I don't know. It's
Yeah.
weird. Just a weird team.
The Saints need a real quarterback. I'm sorry, Derek Carr's not doing it for me. He gets hurt all the time. Kamara's a really good running back. They have decent wide receivers, but they need a new quarterback and a new coach. So we'll see how
Yeah, let's
low
be
they finish.
honest. The best quarterback in that division is Baker Mayfield. So
Yes, another guy, by
there's
the
no
way, I would
question
take
about that.
over. That's another guy I'd take over Justin Herbert too. Just so you know.
Yeah,
All right, so we're both on the Commanders. Okay, now
yeah.
let's get to the ugly bowl. This is what I like to call the draft bowl, as the New York Jets, who once again found another way to lose a game last week. So I'm going to bring another stat up for you, Barbosa. Did you know that the Jets have had 7 opportunities this year to win games with the ball in Aaron Rodgers' hand in the fourth quarter, with less than 2 minutes left in the game, or 3 or 4 minutes left in the game? Guess what their record is in that time period?
You know,
0-7. 0-7. He's thrown 3 picks, and they missed 2 field goals. And the other times, the other team came back, as Miami did last week, and tied the game and kicked and won in overtime. Like, the Jets are awful. He played well last week, but it wasn't enough as the Dolphins came back to win the game and keep their playoff hopes alive. They go to Jacksonville to take on the broken Jaguars, who found a way to win in Tennessee last week. Don't ask me how. Um, but this is a very ugly game with two teams that are just done. Um, what do you got?
the Jets stink. Let's be
They're
honest.
terrible. They're terrible. I mean,
Um,
the most disappointing team in the league by a mile is the Jets. But for
they
me, I'm not
became worse
shocked.
even after
I'm not shocked by
they
this.
fired Saleh. They
I
became
expected
even
Rodgers.
worse.
I'm not surprised. I thought Rodgers and Cousins would be the two easily the two worst quarterbacks, or the most disappointing quarterbacks in the league. So I'm not surprised by any of this.
Man, yeah, he's been terrible. I thought he was gonna be good, and but he's been awful, especially in the fourth quarter, like you said, in games for him to win it with the ball in his hand, 0-7. So
Yeah.
that's a bad, bad uh stat that you just read off.
Hey Massimo, I'd give you 40 million to quarterback over Kirk Cousins. Go ahead, Barbosa.
Yeah. In saying that, I'm gonna take the Jets because I don't trust Jacksonville, especially with Mac Jones. Um, Yeah, let's take the
Yeah.
Jets. Aaron Rodgers
Um,
will find a way to win this game.
I'm going with the upset here. I'm taking the Jags. I'm done with the Jets, man. I told you for the rest of the year I'm not taking the Jets. Like they're that bad. So I'm taking the Jags. Mac Jones stinks too. But Jags, their defense has woken up a little bit. They've played better defense recently. So maybe this will be a very low
Let's see.
scoring, ugly, like we're talking like 9-6, 10-9 kind of game that you're going to see here. Tank Bigsby's running the football well. You know, we'll see. I'm just going to take the upset at home here because the Jags, the Jets are just they're 3-10 and the Jags are 2-11. It's not a big difference, so I'll take the home team.
Yeah.
Uh,
And they're
let's
both three
go.
and ten too. They both have the same record,
Like,
so
they're both terrible. They're both 3-10. So like, I'm picking the home team here. Um, let's go to the Ravens. I'm not going to waste too much time on this. The Ravens are coming off a bye. They need this game desperately, and they're playing the G-men. Like this is a joke. The Ravens by a lot. Barbosa.
yeah, the Ravens, the Giants. Even you put incentives on Drew Lock and and
Drew
he's still
Lock.
counting plays. It
I
should
miss
have
I
just
miss Tommy
they,
DeVito already, man.
like you got incentives. You should be trying to get those incentives, and even with even if they had a gun, if even if somebody had a gun to his head, I don't think you'd still reach those incentives. So the Giants are okay. Yeah, Baltimore all day. They're gonna run all over that defense. That defense is not that bad, but nah, that offense won't
Barbosa.
be able to do
The,
anything.
the
So
the look on Brian Dable's face when they missed that field goal, like it's just like I've never seen a coach that looks more done than him. Like it's just awful.
yeah,
So
he's
Ravens, yeah,
and he's gonna get fired. And he's gonna get
yeah,
fired. He's a good coach. Um, I don't know what the hell they're gonna do over there in New York. I don't know what they're gonna do with the Giants.
yeah.
I don't know if they're gonna. Well, obviously they need to
Well,
draft a
they're gonna draft the
quarterback.
quarterback 100%.
They need to draft a quarterback. So um, we'll see. We'll see. But nah, I got the Ravens by a lot, like you said, by a
Yeah.
lot.
All right, let's get to one of the games of the week. The Pittsburgh Steelers, who, as I told you last week, were going to get revenge and beat up on the Browns, which they did even without George Pickens. Russell Wilson is playing well, so they picked up a big win. They go to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles, who also won last week, but barely won last week, and should have lost the game if not for a drop by Leggett at the end of the game. But they snuck one out over the Panthers at home, and then we hear after the game that AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts are no longer friends. They're no longer friends. They're turning to Terrell Owens and freaking Donovan McNabb over there. So despite the fact that the Eagles are playing great and are rolling, there are problems in paradise. And then the teammate comes out and confirms the rumors. So we'll see how that works out. But despite the drama, uh, the Eagles played well when Owens McNabb were bad, and they're going to play well even though this is going on. I expect the Eagles to win this game. I expect that Barkley will be running on Pittsburgh's defense because Pittsburgh, despite having a good defense, is only good against the pass. Against the run, they're not so good. So I expect a big game from Barkley. So our friend Chris is going to have a good day. Um, so I expect the Eagles to win, and I don't think it will be. I think it will be at least by 7 points. Barbosa.
I um I also think the Eagles will win. Uh, yeah, I've heard though that rumor too that there's trouble in paradise. Sorry, AJ Brown, but the reason you're pissed off at your buddy Jalen Hurts is because you got another weapon that can take over games. And Jalen Hurts, we seen what happened without a running game last year. Let's be honest.
He's not throwing the ball
Um,
well this year either. The only difference is they have Barkley.
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. He hasn't been throwing the ball. Um, they rely on the running game. That's why there's that's why there's problems there because AJ Brown's not getting the ball like he was in the first year that Jalen Hurts was there. Um, but in saying that, and I said at the beginning of the year that this will be the best signing in the offseason. Saquon Barkley to the Eagles, the division, which I picked the Eagles to win. Um, just because I thought Saquon Barkley was going to make a huge difference in that team. That's all they were kind of missing. To
Well,
get
the defense
especially
got a lot better. That was the biggest surprise for me.
yeah, and the
How good the
defense
defense has been.
100% because obviously you know you need a running game. If you have a running game, you need a good defense also, right? So with that saying, I am going to take the Eagles. I still can't trust Russell Wilson.
It's hard to trust them.
I
It
I
is.
can't trust Russell Wilson. So I'm going to take the Eagles.
Yeah, Pittsburgh on the road, not so good. At home, much, much different story.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, Barbosa, I'm really, really sorry about this game before I start talking about it. It's not a game that we should be wasting much time on, but because it's your team, we're going to talk about it. The Indianapolis Colts off a bye are going to Denver to take on one of the best defenses in the league. Now, we'll talk about this game, but this is an easy one. Denver and Denver by a lot, and I hope Anthony Richardson survives this defense because it ain't going to be pretty. But Barbosa, have you been at least been more impressed with Richardson since the benching? And do you think they have any hope at all of beating Denver in Denver with
Do
the
I
way
have
Bowden
what?
is playing?
Do I have been
Any
impressed with
hope?
what?
Have you been impressed since the benching with Anthony Richardson?
With who?
Anthony Richardson.
Who? Have I been impressed?
the,
What, one
the,
game? They beat the
the,
Jets.
the quiet quitter.
They beat the Jets.
Yes.
What's there to be excited about? The next game, he was back to himself. What's there to be excited about?
Uh, yep.
He's he's not a good quarterback.
But
I
okay,
told you that.
He did go to New England and play well.
New England. What are we talking about here?
Two road
We're talking
wins.
about we're talking about the Jets and we're talking about the Patriots.
I'm trying to be nice
They're
to your
both their
team, buddy.
records, both combined records are the same as the Colts. They have 6 wins. Both teams have 6 wins.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
Yeah.
Terrible. No, man. Listen, no. They need a
So
quarterback.
they have no hope of going to Denver and winning, is what you're going to say to me.
They need a quarterback. Anthony Richards is not the answer. Shane Steichen, please, please, please get it out of your head that Anthony Richards is not the quarterback.
Well, the problem is you're not going to get a quarterback,
Please,
Barbosa, because you're
please.
6-7. Your record's too good to go to quarterback.
They need a quarterback. They need a quarterback. They need a quarterback. I'll take Daniel Jones.
Oh God, no, no, you don't want Daniel
I'll
Jones.
take Daniel Jones.
No, man, no, you don't want him. No, 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 no. You know what you should do? Go
Anthony
sign Sam
Richardson.
Darnold. Sign Sam Darnold.
No, the Vikings are not letting him go now. You're crazy.
Barbosa, I'm telling you, the Vikings are not paying Sam Darnold. They're going to go to JJ.
They're not letting him go.
Uh,
If he's available, hell yeah, I'd take him.
I'm
Take
willing to
him.
bet
Look what he
100K
can do
right
with the
now.
weapons. You got weapons. Look what he can do.
Bookmark it right now, guys, on the show. Sam Darnold will not be a Viking next year. He's going to sign somewhere else, and they're going to go with JJ.
Well,
But
they drafted the kid from Michigan.
yeah,
So yeah,
JJ
JJ
McCarthy.
McCarthy. So
And they're gonna go to him next year. But
yeah, I agree with that.
they're not going to pay Sam Darnold $40 million. That doesn't make any sense. They're going to go to JJ.
No, the Broncos will win this game.
By how
I
much?
think
Can you
this
tell
is
me
the
by how
game.
much?
Huh?
By how much?
By 10. I think
Yeah,
they'll win by 10.
I say it's going to be at least 7. At least 7. Yeah.
Bo Nix, I think this is a game Bo Nix will kind of take a lead in the rookie race, if you ask me.
Well, we'll see. It's very, very close. Their records
It
are
is very
similar.
close. I
Their
agree.
numbers are similar outside of the running. Like it's getting close for sure.
And I think what they both have the same record. Yes, they both have the same record.
Yeah, stats are
I think Bo
similar
Nix
outside of the
is.
running.
I think Bo Nix has more touchdown passes
Yes, yes,
than Daniels, and I think he has more passing yards.
yeah, yeah. Daniels has more on the ground.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, it's interesting now. It was a lock before when they were 7-2, but now that they're eight
yeah.
and five, it's a race. So for sure, we shall see. So we're both on Denver there. Um, yeah, it's not going to be a fun game for Anthony Richardson. Now let's go to game of the week two, and one of the harder games we're going to ever pick this season is Buffalo Bills. Coming off the game, they gave up 37 points on defense and 44 totals to the Rams. Go to Detroit to take on the best offense in the NFL. I really like how the Bills have played this year. I think Josh Allen's the MVP. I think it's the best he's played in his career, but they're not winning in Detroit. I got the Lions. Barbosa.
Ooh,
Now, I should say this Buffalo has a chance. I just don't think they're winning. Detroit's been vulnerable at home recently, so and their secondary's iffy,
I'm
but
gonna. Yeah, I'm gonna take Detroit just because I don't like Buffalo's run defense. And Detroit, that's what they do. They run the ball. Um, yeah, so I'm gonna take Detroit. I'm gonna take Detroit just because I I I think it's gonna be another. I think it's gonna be another 30 points for
yeah.
both teams in the 30s. They're gonna be in the 30s.
Mhm.
But I think the Lions will end up winning it just because that run def I don't like Buffalo's run defense and it
This
scares me.
this is going to be
So
a
I'm
game
gonna
that
take Detroit
decides.
just for that reason.
This is going to be a game that decides home field. It's going to decide who drops in the standings. It's a huge game. It could decide the MVP race as well. So there's a
Mm,
lot on the line here. Um, but I think
If
Allen's
if if
going to win it.
if Allen has a good game and they still lose, I don't think it's gonna hurt as much.
Right, right.
But Josh Allen can have a bad game. If he has a bad game and Jared Goff has a good game, oof, then then yeah,
I still
I
believe
can
that
see.
if Barkley breaks the rushing record and the Eagles win the division or somehow catch Detroit, Barkley's winning the MVP. So if let's say Detroit loses this game and Philly wins and they're tied atop the NFC, and Philly somehow wins the NFC, Barkley's going to win the MVP.
Barkley is winning Offensive Player of the Year, but he's not winning MVP.
Man, I'm telling you, he's second in the voting right now, and if he breaks the rushing
Okay,
record,
hold on. Look,
it,
look what you just said.
yeah.
If Detroit loses this game, there's a chance that Saquon Barkley could
Sorry,
win
if
MVP.
Buffalo loses the game,
So
sorry.
who's Detroit playing? Buffalo.
Right.
So you're telling me if Buffalo wins the game, you're telling me that Josh Allen hasn't locked it up?
Well,
Yeah. See?
again, if the Eagles win the NFC
No,
and he breaks the rushing record, I think it's possible that Saquon wins it. Yeah.
no, no.
Right.
Josh
But
Allen
we'll see.
just he's playing on another level this year. Josh
Yeah,
Allen's
we'll see.
playing on like another level
Yeah.
this year.
And
I don't think we've
quarterbacks are
seen.
going to get the votes. I get it. So obviously Allen's the favorite.
Do I see Saquon Barkley winning Offensive Player of the Year? Yes. Do I see him winning MVP now? It's tough. It's tough.
Well, we shall see. So we're both on Detroit. That's a tough
Yeah.
game. Though. I think the Bills could steal that game. Like Detroit's secondary is not good, and so
No.
that would if Allen does win that game by throwing the ball, it's really gonna cement his case as the MVP
Yeah.
because Detroit's pass defense has struggled for the better part of this season. So it's basically the Bills' bad rush defense against Detroit's bad pass defense. So we'll see who wins that one.
Yeah.
To another really good game. I wouldn't call it game of the week, but it's a loss on the line here as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who have one of my favorite quarterbacks in the league, Baker Mayfield, goes to the Clippers to take on. Sorry, goes to the Clippers. Goes to LA to take on the Chargers. They have the same initials, believe it or not, LAC. This is a huge game for both teams. Tampa Bay has the division lead after the Atlanta Falcons choked away 4 straight games, and the Bucks won 3 straight games. So the Bucks have a slight lead on the Falcons. The Chargers, who found a way to lose to Kansas City last week, dropped to 8-5. They're tied with Denver for second in the division. Playoffs still on the line. This is a choice between which team I like better. I like both these teams. I like the Chargers defense better, but I like Tampa Bay's quarterback and run game better. Tampa Bay struggled a little bit to win games recently. They had to, sneak out a couple of wins. But I just prefer Tampa Bay's run game and defense, although Bucky Irving is questionable to play the game. Chargers just don't score enough for me. So I got the Bucks. Barbosa.
Yeah, this is a tougher game than expected. Uh, yeah, but Tampa's been struggling, and I think Jim Harbaugh is a great coach, especially after a loss. I think you'll have him ready to play. I'm gonna go with the Chargers because they're at home. Like you said, they have the better defense. Um, and this year Justin Herbert hasn't turned the ball over much. He's only had 1 pick. Um, I'm gonna go with the Chargers. They're at home, better defense, and if they don't turn the ball over, yeah, they'll win this game.
We talked about Herbert earlier in the show, and I just want to bring this up. One of the reasons I was really irritated with Herbert last week is that there was a play early in the game. I don't know. Did you watch the game, Barbosa?
No, I didn't watch the game. I
Okay,
didn't get
so
a chance to watch the game. My son had a hockey game, so
let me paint a picture for you. It's early in the game. It's 3-0 Kansas City, and Josh Palmer gets open down the field. He makes a double move, and he's wide open. And when I say wide open, I mean there's no one near Josh Palmer. If the throw is on target, it's a touchdown. And Herbert overthrows him by 5 feet. Like it's plays like that bother me about Justin Herbert because we want to blame the coaches, we want to blame the receivers, but when it's set up for him to be successful, he misses the throw or he gets sacked or something happens that's negative for the Chargers. And it's like I need to see more consistency from him as a quarterback, and I need him to win big games. He's a 500 quarterback. His stats are okay, but when the big play needs to be made, I'm not seeing it enough from Mr. Herbert. So I'm going to go with the Bucks, even though Mayfield's kind of all over the place. He'll come up with a big play, and I don't think Herbert will, and that's why I'll take the Bucks.
that's
Um,
fair. That's fair.
we'll see. I mean, the Chargers do have the better defense, that's for sure. So we'll see how it works out. The Chargers without Dobbins did not look very good as an offense either, so that's another concern. Gus Edwards is doing okay filling in, but we'll see how the adjustments are made. But I think the Chargers are going to struggle to score unless Ladd McConkey comes back from injury. He did not play against Kansas City last week, and they missed him. So we'll see if he's back this week for the Chargers. Oh, let's go to this game. The ugly pet Patriots, who are starting Drake May and are trying to figure out if they have a quarterback or not. He's played okay. They go to take on, oh boy, the disappointment, Barbosa, the Cardinals, man. Like just not the team that never stops to disappoint. They got their butts handed to them by the Seabags last week, basically eliminating any hope they had of making the playoffs. Now they get New England at home. Um, Kyler Murray's another quarterback that he's in the Justin Herbert hole. He's supposed to have all this talent. He's supposed to be great. He's supposed to be able to do all these things. Never wins a big game. Never able to make the big play when you need it, unless it's running. because it's not happening with throwing the ball, and therefore they lose a lot of close games. Sometimes they'll win some close games, but typically they're going to lose the big game when they need it. And so Murray and Herbert to me are in that category. Having said that, they're playing the Patriots at home. The Cardinals should win this game. Like, come on, you don't win this game, there's something wrong. Like, unless maybe Murray's playing too many video games and they lose, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think he wins this game. Who do you got, Barbosa?
I got the Cardinals. I agree
Are you
with what you
disappointed?
said.
You're disappointed, aren't you?
Yeah, and plus with a weapon like Marvis and Harrison Jr., I don't know what the hell. I don't know
No
why you don't throw
chemistry.
it to him. They don't throw the ball to him much more. Like the guy's what 6'4", six
Six
foot
foot four.
five. That guy's a monster. Why don't you throw the ball to the guy? Who's
Trade
gonna?
McBride all
Is
day.
there a defensive back that's that big that can go? No, throw the ball. He's gonna end up. He's gonna catch it.
Well, there's two things, Barbosa.
The
Number one,
problem
he's
with Kyler
short.
Murray is too small. The problem
Right.
with Kyler Murray is too small. That's why he
Yeah.
can't see. That guy can't. He
Right.
can't see. He can't see over
Unless
the
he gets
lineman.
out of the pocket. When he gets out of the pocket, he'll throw to Marvin Harrison. The
Yeah,
problem is that teams know that if they keep him in there, he's not going to be able to throw the ball over the top. So you get all these throws to Trey
exactly.
McBride and to James Conner, which are dink and dunk throws.
But like you said, they're playing the Patriots, so I'm gonna take Cardinals. I think they should get it done. But I don't know. Like Kyler Murray frustrates me,
Yeah,
even though I think they have a great team. But he just, oh,
yeah,
the
very
frustration with that
frustrating
guy
to watch.
is
Yeah, it is very frustrating to watch them.
it's painful. It's painful
Yeah, I
because
mean,
I
good
think
running
that
back, good tight end.
they
They've got
have,
weapons.
like I said, with
Yeah,
that they have a great receiver. That guy's gonna be a great receiver, and not to use him, uh,
yeah.
it's a travesty.
All right, let's get to Gills Packers. Big game coming up as they go to Seattle to take on the Seabags, who lead the NFC West. The Packers just found a way to get heartbroken. Now, I want to get your thoughts on this, Barbosa. Now, Dan Campbell is basically Staley, but it works. Okay, he's taken a lot of chances, but he gets a lot of fourth downs. Staley did the same thing and often missed, and he's fired. So I understand Dan Campbell is a better coach, but the chances that he takes are really getting to the point now where, like, if he keeps doing it, he's going to cost his team the game like last year against the 49ers. And he got away with it against the Packers, but boy, oh boy, oh boy, he tried to lose that game with some of those calls. Um, your pick and your thoughts on Dan Campbell going for it and getting away with it against the Packers last week.
Listen, more times than not, he's been successful on fourth downs. Just the one time that he wasn't successful wasn't a massive game.
Yes,
Wasn't a
yes,
massive game. And so that a lot of people are gonna, look at it sideways because it was a massive game and that was a big blunder. But he's gonna be aggressive. Dan Campbell's that's him. That's the Detroit Lions. They're gonna be aggressive. The only reason why they only lost one game all year is because of plays like that, right? Um, Unfortunately, yeah, it was against the Packers, and the Packers were in the game. They were in the game against Detroit. Um, and now, in saying that, I am going to take the Packers. Seattle is a very, very weird team to figure out too. They're very
yeah.
inconsistent. Um, Geno Smith this year hasn't looked like Geno Smith from last year. Um, I think their defense is kind of what's helping them out a little bit. But I no, I don't see them stopping Jordan Love and the Packers this week. I'm going to take the Packers.
Really tough game. Um, the Packers have been okay this year, but they've kind of disappointed me a little bit with some of the ways they've won and the ways they've lost their games. Um, Jordan Love's been inconsistent. Um, Jacobs has been great, but the inconsistency of the wide receivers does not help. Um, I'm going to go upset here. I'm going to take the Seabags. I like how their defense is playing. I think their run game is going very well for them as well. They may get Metcalf back, um, and they're just playing really well. Now it was against the division. They're at home where they've kind of struggled this year. The Seabags, they've lost more games at home than they have on the road. But I like how their defense is playing, and so if Love feels froggy and starts throwing up the ball, that could lead to some picks. Uh, Seattle's defense
Yeah.
has been really good recently, so I'm going to take the Seabags at home. Oh, let's go to the Bears, who are just. I mean, if you had high hopes for Caleb Williams, you're disappointed. Um, the Bears have lost 7 in a row. They find new ways to lose games every week. Last week was just a beatdown, but like Caleb Williams looks lost on the field. Um, they have a lot of weapons, no coaching. The Bears are a cursed franchise. They got their ass handed to them by the team you see behind me. And now they're going to Minnesota to take on the Vikings defense with Sam Darnold, who had 5 touchdowns last week, was rolling, has weapons all over the field. I just don't see how the Bears win this game, so I got the Vikings. Barbosa.
Yeah, I got the Vikings. Um, they're playing defensively. I think they cleaned up some stuff that they went away from them. Um, Sam Darnold struggled a little bit for a few games. He was struggling, but he seems to be getting it back. Um, and the Bears, like you said, they're just fine. They're the Bears.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the
I
plain and
mean,
simple way to put it. They're the Bears. They
yeah,
find ways to lose. They need to go out and get a a, a head
an
coach.
offensive. They need an offensive court of an offensive head coach. That's what they need.
Yeah, they need like a quarterback whisperer to work with
Yeah,
Caleb Williams.
Caleb is. There's
I
some
don't think he's
questions
been
about him.
that. I don't think he's
Yeah,
been that terrible.
no, not
Telling honest
terrible,
truth, I don't think he's
but
been that terrible.
not number one pick guaranteed good either.
No, no. I think he's been put in a terrible situation. Um,
Yeah, this is something where
yeah,
they
no, he
need
hasn't been
coaching.
playing like a number one quarterback. Um, and I don't know, no help, no help. It's the Bears keep going back to the same mistakes, the same um, ways of playing. I don't
Yeah,
know. Um,
yeah.
It's 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 crazy to think that they try to put all this talent around and they still can't figure out a way to get up the ball to the receivers. Um, the defense has been one game they've been good, one game then they haven't looked the greatest. They're just yeah, they need a
They're,
coach. They
they're a cursed
desperately need a
franchise.
coach, offensive an offensive head coach that can work with Caleb Williams because yeah, it doesn't look pretty there.
I'd like to personally thank the Vikings for destroying Kirk Cousins last week. That was a lot of fun to watch, and it just proves my point about Kirk Cousins and how awful he is. Not didn't He didn't get any revenge through 2 horrible picks when the game was still in the balance. Um, I had people argue with me last year about Kirk Cousins. I had people argue with me when he was on Minnesota and was 14-2, and I still said that he sucked. And then in the playoffs, they lost to Daniel Jones. Like Kirk Cousins is not a good quarterback. He puts up stats, never wins the big game, and will always disappoint you when it matters most. The Vikings got rid of him and put Sam Darnold on the team, who is not known to be some great quarterback. He was a backup in Carolina, a backup in San Francisco, and was kicked out of the Jets organization. And he's going over there
Well,
having a Pro Bowl
well,
season.
hold
The
on.
Vikings are better with
Anybody that
him than
comes out of the
anybody.
Jets, anybody that comes out of the Jets stinks.
I
If you
understand.
want to die as a quarterback, you go to the Jets.
Yes,
The
I
Jets
understand.
organization for quarterbacks has been atrocious the past 20 years.
My point
Terrible.
remains: the Vikings are a much better football team without Kirk Cousins. I rest my case.
Yes.
Um, so Vikings, that was great last week. It was fun to watch. Gil took the Falcons last week not only to outright win but to beat the spread because he believed Cousins would get revenge. Well, how'd that work out, Gil? Yeah, not very well. Speaking of the Atlanta Falcons, we have to put up with watching Kirk Cousins on Monday night. Now, for those who don't know, Kirk Cousins is
Hey,
the best Monday night record in the world.
hey, hey, his last Monday night game,
Yes, he
his
did play
last Monday
well.
night game,
Yeah,
he played all right.
yeah. I think that was the game. No, wasn't that Thursday when he put up the 500 yards against Tampa Bay Bucks. Yeah, that was Thursday night.
But I think he also had a big game on a Monday night
He did. He did win a game on
earlier in the
Monday
year.
night earlier in the year. Yes, but like
Yeah,
I said, Cousins
because
has thrown 8 picks and 0 touchdowns in the last 4 games. Um,
yeah, that's not
this
good.
Monday nighter is
That's
not a
not
good game
good.
at all. It's not.
That's
This Mon-
terrible.
this Monday nighter is not a good game, folks. But I got news for you. The injury to Aiden O'Connell has set this up to be a lovely, lovely game because you see, the Atlanta Falcons got rid of Desmond Ritter to sign Kirk Cousins and to draft Michael Penix. And guess who the quarterback's going to be for the Las Vegas Raiders on Monday? Desmond Ritter. And if Kirk Cousins loses to Desmond Ritter, I cannot wait for this show next week because I'm going to be laughing so hard, and I will never let Kirk Cousins hear the end of it. Having said that, I'm taking the Raiders. That's right, I'm taking the Raiders. The Falcons' defense, now, to give Kirk Cousins a break, the Falcons' defense has been awful. For all those, including Barbosa and Jose, who thought the defense was going to be good, they've given up 40 points a game on the road the last 2 weeks. They're awful. Okay? They can't stop a nosebleed. Then you got Kirk Cousins in the offense throwing picks all over the field. It's a bad recipe that's not going to end well. Vegas, who almost beat the Raiders and typically at the end, or almost beat the Chiefs, typically at the end of the year, they sneak out wins or they come on and they pull something with Pierce, and then Pierce gets to keep his job or whatever. Desmond Ritter is going to find a way to beat Kirk Cousins, and I'm picking the Raiders so I can have a laugh on my show next week. I know how much the Falcons need this game, but Kirk Cousins is awful. And Max Crosby is coming for you, buddy. And he's going to throw it up again for someone to pick off, and the Raiders will win. Barbosa, I know you're taking the Falcons, but then at least give you good reasons to take the Raiders. What a revenge game for Desmond Ritter.
Desmond Ritter, really?
He
Desmond
I,
Ritter?
Think about the motivation he's got to beat that team this week.
I don't care how much motivation you have. That guy's not a good quarterback. He
Maybe for one
stinks.
game. Maybe for one game.
He's garbage.
Hey,
That's why he's a third stringer on the
hey, he
Raiders.
he won 8 games last year. Okay, Cousins only has six.
You can ask, okay, Reese, come on. Okay. Between him and the other quarterback, okay, it wasn't only him.
Ritter.
Because,
Who else played for? Oh, Heineke. That's right. Heineke played for Atlanta
yeah,
last year.
it wasn't just because these guys were flip flopping back and forth
That's
because
true.
one
That's
had
true.
a terrible game, and then the other one had a
Right.
terrible game, and then one
Yeah.
came in, and
It was
then the
awful.
defense helped out win the game. They're, Desmond Ritter's not a good quarterback. He's a shit quarterback. And he's a third stringer on a 2-11 team. Okay. They're the worst team in the NFL.
Okay, I'm
And
gonna
he's
give
a
a
third
prediction.
stringer.
Here's another prediction I'll give you before Barbosa makes his pick. If they decide to bench Kirk Cousins midway through this game because he's awful and they bring in Penix, the Falcons can win the game. But I don't think that's going to happen, and so I'm taking the Raiders. But let me tell you, If they finally do the right thing and put Penix in, Atlanta will win. I'm just throwing it out there, but I'm picking the Raiders. Go ahead, Barbosa.
There's a there's a reason they haven't put Penix in. I don't think he's ready.
He played last week.
I don't think he's ready. There's a reason why they're not going to start Penix.
While
No,
Barbosa's making his pick, guys, I'm going to look up Kirk Cousins' record on Monday night just for fun.
no, it's terrible. I think he's got 1 or 2 wins on Monday nights. It's terrible. In saying that, Kirk Cousins will end up having one of those games, and then at the end of the game, he's gonna go, "You like this? You like?" He's gonna have
Okay,
one of
guys,
those because
I
it's a
looked
Monday
it up.
nighter.
Kirk Cousins in his career on Monday night, 3-10 with 9
Yeah,
straight losses. I
yeah.
got the Raiders, baby.
I'm gonna take Kirk Cousins and the Falcons. I think they'll get it done. I think Kirk Cousins will get it done. The Raiders are shit. That's a terrible, terrible team. There's a reason Desmond Ritter is a third string quarterback on a 2-11 team. There's a reason because he stinks.
Hey,
He's
even Tommy
garbage. He's
DeVito
awful.
got a win last year. Even Tommy DeVito won a game last year.
Exactly. Okay. Let's just pump the brakes. I know you want the Raiders because you hate Kirk Cousins. I know you're on the Raiders because you hate Kirk Cousins.
Hey, I
That's
gave
the
good
only
reasons.
reason you're taking the
No,
Raiders.
I gave good reasons. Atlanta's defense is terrible. Kirk Cousins has thrown 8 picks and no touchdowns. He's three and
I
ten on
get
Monday
it.
night with 9 straight. I got lots of reasons to pick the Raiders.
I can't trust a 2-11 team. Sorry, can't trust it. And a third in your third stringer, and it's your third stringer because all the other two quarterbacks have been hurt. Well, Mr. Mustache over there, the guy we got rid of, he hasn't shown much. And then your rookie gets injured, and then yeah, no kidding, you have to bring Desmond Ritter. Man,
Yep.
I put Daniel Jones in. At least that guy will have a chance. If you were to put Daniel Jones, maybe I would have picked the Raiders, but not with Desmond Ritter. He sucks. He's worse than Richardson.
Um, Folks, I just want to remind Barbosa, the Atlanta Falcons lost to 3-10 New Orleans, 20-17. I just want to throw that out there.
Still, no, I don't trust the Raiders. The Raiders are awful. They're awful.
Um,
They're awful.
Barbosa, more disappointing season, Falcons or Jets?
Or who?
Falcons or Jets?
Or Jets.
Yeah,
The Jets.
Jets are more disappointing. Okay,
100%.
okay.
The Jets. Because everybody picked them to go to the Super. I know how many people picked the Jets to go to the Super Bowl.
Like,
And mind you, I picked them to win the
Barbosa,
division just because
yeah.
I didn't think Buffalo had the team to
By the
play
way,
this well.
the only person on this show that picked the Bills to win the division, you're looking at him.
It was you. Yeah, 100%.
I don't trust Aaron
And
Rodgers in the Jets, and
so you're
I'm
asking
also
me
the
who's
only
the
one who
bigger
picked.
disappointment?
I'm also the only one who picked the Bucks to win the division. So it's going to be a fun
Yeah, and
time
you're
when
the
we
only
do
one
our
that picked
review
the
show.
Bucks. Because everybody else, we all picked the Falcons.
It's going to be a
And
fun
saying
review
that,
show, guys.
and saying that, the Jets are the bigger disappointment. You
Yeah,
crazy? It's not even close. It's
yeah.
not even close.
Let me just, like, do you know how hard it is to throw 0 touchdowns and 8 picks in 4 games in this NFL, where the quarterbacks you can't touch them with a pillow? Like, you have to be really awful to be that bad. And it's not like they played world beaters either. They played New Orleans. The teams they played in this losing streak, New Orleans, okay, at Broncos is brutal. That's a tough defense, okay? They played the Chargers at home, okay, good defense, no problem there. And then the Vikings. So they did play 3 good defenses. But my God, 0-8. And they got weapons. Bijan Robinson, Darnell Mooney, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts, by the way, like, I don't know what's happened to that guy, but like it doesn't seem to matter who the quarterback is. It's like he needs to leave Atlanta or something. Like the guy has 0 catches for 0 yards, way too much. Um, so the Falcons, the fraud Falcons, are a disaster. And man, I pray. I'm going to put money on the Raiders. That's how bad I want them to win this game, so I can have fun on my show next week. Because they're the
You
Falcons are
really,
done.
you
If they
really hate Kirk
if they
Cousins.
if they lose to the Raiders, you tell me if you agree or not, Barbosa. If they lose to the Raiders, they're done. They're done.
If they lose to the Raiders, I'll come. I will personally come on the show. I will say on the show that Kirk Cousins is the worst quarterback I've ever seen in my life. I will. I'll make that a statement.
Don't be
If
surprised,
he loses to
Barbosa.
Desmond Ritter, I will say that Kirk Cousins will be the worst quarterback I've ever seen.
Not only Desmond Ritter, they're on their fourth string running back too. They got some guy named Spencer something running for them. So they're on their third quarterback and they're on their fourth string running
Unbelievable.
back. Okay,
I
they
I
also
don't think I don't think they can lose to the Raiders. Come on,
they
that's
they still got Max Crosby. They still got Max Crosby. So watch out, watch out.
well a reluctant Max Crosby because I don't think he
Yeah,
wants to be there. He doesn't
no,
want to be there,
no, no.
and it shows that
Most
he's
likely.
very frustrated. So,
But we shall
but
see. Those are our picks. Guys, we'll have the lock show later because Jose and Gil went to sleep, and I don't know what their picks are. So we'll try to bring them back for the lock show and have this same format without Barbosa. Barbosa, that's our picks for this week. But you see, I'm going to do a little bit of a short rant, and then I want you to reply to it, okay? And then we're going to close the show for today. I know this is a football show, guys, but all week long I've been irritated by the Toronto Blue Jays. And let me tell you why. Last year, the Toronto Blue Jays tried to fool us into believing they were going after Shohei Ohtani. I got news for people. They were never in the race. He signed with the Dodgers and used the Jays as pawns. Then we hear that they're going after Juan Soto. Again, they were never in the race and were used as pawns. You want to know how I know that? Because they offered him less than 700 million. They were never going to get him at less than 700 million. So what the Jays management is doing is classic mongering. And for those who don't know what that means, it's a team that throws something out there knowing they have no chance just to appease the fans when they know they're not going to get the guy that they're trying for. Barbosa's already nodding his head, so he knows exactly what I'm talking about. Okay? They never were going to sign these guys. Now, last year, despite wanting to spend 70 million a year on Ohtani, they signed nobody and went into the year with the team exactly as it was the year before and missed the playoffs by a lot. Now this year, okay, they said, okay, we didn't get him, but we've got to cover ourselves. So they traded for a shortstop from Cleveland named Jimenez. Now, I don't know Jimenez. I know that he's a three-time Gold Glove defensive outfielder. Here's the problem, guys. The Jays didn't win last year because they can't hit. Okay? And this management team traded Lourdes Gurriel and Teo Hernandez for Dalton Varsho and said, we're doing it because he has a better WAR and because he's a better defensive outfielder. Can't hit the ball at all, but it's because he's a good defensive outfielder. Okay? Teo Hernandez just won the World Series with the Dodgers and had a major impact with that. Now they go and they trade for this defensive second baseman as cover because they know they're probably not going to re-sign Bo Bichette. He can't hit either. This guy can't hit for power. He had 9 home runs last year, about 250. When you keep a management team that you know should get fired 1 year too long, like Kyle Dubas in Toronto, you're going to get more of the same and more of the same results. It's the definition of insanity. The Toronto Maple Leafs fired Kyle Dubas 2 years too late. They waited far too long to get rid of him. When they did, they got Mr. Treliving. Treliving gave Keefe 1 more year, said adios, signed Berube. They got the tough defenseman that he should have had 5 years ago, added toughness on the forward group, got a real coach who's won a Stanley Cup and is tough and plays a hard-nosed style, and you see the results. Now we'll see what happens in the playoffs with the Leafs. The Jays, no, let's keep this management team. Let's keep this same style, and we're gonna we're going to keep getting defensive players and hope that everything just changes. Now, Barbosa, I'm going to be right back. I want you to comment on what I've just said. I'll be right back.
Oh, Reese. Oh, Reese, I'll wait for you till you get back because yeah, I got stuff to say about the Blue Jays. Yeah, and I want you, and then Reese, I want Reese to comment on what I'm about to say about the Blue Jays management because um this management's track record is not the greatest in signing players, making trades, spending money. Um, it's not. And for these guys to fool us and thinking that they were on Otani and Soto is smoke and mirrors. And I don't know if they're gonna do it with Vladdy. I don't know if they're gonna give that money to Vladdy. Hopefully, this management team is not around to negotiate Vladdy's contract because if they are, there's a chance that we are gonna lose Vladimir Guerrero. Very high chance. I think we are with Bo Bichette because this team is very, very frugal. They don't like to spend the money. Um, it's the track record that speaks for itself. They don't and they don't know how to build a team from the draft. They tried in previous years. It's never worked out. Um, I don't know. I'm done with this Blue Jays team. To tell you the honest truth, their management hasn't given me hope on this team in the past few years. So I, I'm I can't bring myself to watch a Blue Jays game. I can't because uh, you throwing money at Springer. The guy was already in his final hurrah. Um, you didn't want to give up. You didn't want to give the money to um. Oh, what's his face? He went to
Yeah,
Texas.
Simeon.
Uh
Simeon left. Simeon left.
yeah.
Uh,
You don't want to
yeah,
pay Simeon. Reese, this is what I want to say to you about this management team. Their track record is not the greatest for signing trades, spending money. Just look at the Cleveland. Just look at Cleveland when they were under their management regime, and look at now when they've gone. Cleveland has
yeah,
improved a lot,
yeah, yeah.
uh, and we're talking about a smaller market team. The Jays have a little bit of money to spend, and just look at a team that's on the field for the Guardians. They made the playoffs. They have good players. Um, they know how to
I mean,
draft.
Barbosa. We haven't won a playoff game since that management team has been here.
Exactly. Um, like I said, and these signings that they say they're all in and this and that is all smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
It's a
I mean,
joke.
the team can't hit Barbosa, and they keep signing defensive outfielders. They keep trading for defensive outfielders. Like it's just it's like we're going to keep going to the well even though it's failed, and we're going to continue to sign defensive outfielders even though we can't hit, and we're going to
Their
hope
their best
that
their best years under this management team is when they had players from the previous management.
yep,
When
and
they
guys
had
who
the
could hit.
Gurriels, when they had the Teoscar Hernandez, um, when they had those guys,
Yep,
and then they
they're all
traded those
gone now.
guys, and ever since that, it's like they're here we go, Dubas again, relying too much on analytics, right? Relying too much on analytics instead of
Yep,
saying no.
yep,
What wins is home runs in this league now. You need
yep,
to have bats.
yeah, yeah,
It's and hockey is the same thing. You you need big bodies in the back end. Dubas
yeah,
try to build backwards. You know, when a
yeah,
team
yeah,
says, True Living
yeah,
says, I want no, I need to build from the net out.
yeah.
Dubas is like, no, I need to build from the forwards in. Doesn't work. It's
Yeah.
proven. It doesn't work.
I just wanted to rant a little bit because they annoy me so much, and the fact that this
I
ownership
can't
group,
listen.
they decided to keep
I
these
can't bring
guys.
myself.
Yeah,
I for the past 2 years, I couldn't bring myself to watch a single Blue Jay game,
yeah,
a single
yeah,
Blue Jay game,
yeah. I
because
don't blame you. And here's the thing, Barbosa. If you're Vladdy
I
Guerrero,
can't. This management team is not. Every year's the same shit, same garbage,
but
same. Oh
think
yeah, we're
about
on
this,
this
Barbosa.
player, then
Think
ended up
about this,
getting it.
right?
Oh, we're on this player. No, we ended up getting it, and then and you settle for the fourth, fifth, sixth guy out there, an aging, an aging outfielder that now can't even hit anymore.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. They keep expecting guys to get better from within, and they don't. And then they're like, "Well, we tried." It's like, dude, unless you
no,
get
you
the
didn't
guy,
try.
I don't want to hear about how you tried, and I don't believe you tried either. So it's like, just stop with the "we tried." They came out and said after Soto signed with the Mets, we were happy to be part of the process. Are you kidding me? Are you? What do you want a participation award?
You want me to? You know what? If I was the Jays, I wouldn't even said nothing. I wouldn't have
No,
said
man.
nothing because that is a lot of money for Juan Soto. Because in 4 years, that guy's going to be a DH. That's way too much money for a
Yeah,
DH.
yeah, that's fine.
I would have been happy them saying no, we're not in the Soto
Right.
sweepstakes. Forget Juan Soto.
Otani makes sense, but again, if you wanted Otani that bad, then you outbid the Dodgers. But they didn't do that. Now, here's the thing. I don't think they were ever involved in this pursuit. I think that Otani was always going to sign with the Dodgers. I just think
Yeah,
that the agent used the Jays as a weapon to get a
they
higher
used them,
higher deal.
of course.
Okay, that's what happened. But the thing that bugs me is that they don't get fired, but because they don't get fired, they continue with the same philosophy, expecting different results. And if you're a Jays fan, just like you were a Leafs fan under Dubas, you've got to be pulling out your hair. You don't have any, but like wondering why would you go back and do the exact
I
same
know.
thing over and over again, expecting different results. The Leafs, it took the Leafs what 9 years of Dubas to figure it out, 7 years of Dubas to figure it out, and now the Jays are
It
on
took
year
Shanahan. It took
yeah,
Shanahan 7 years to figure out that Cal Dubas method didn't work.
yeah,
Okay.
and the Jays are on year 9, I think, with these idiots running the team.
Do I see a different philosophy in this Leaf team? 100%, way
Yeah,
different than Cal
yeah,
Dubas.
yeah,
And you can see he went out, got goaltending,
yeah,
got the best. I think he still is the best defensive defenseman in the league.
yeah, kind
And
of,
we're talking about and the defense that they signed this year are all big boys. And with Brian McCabe, he's also another big boy.
yeah,
And that's where you build. That's where you start your foundation from.
yeah.
And that's what Trill Living is doing. But that's not what the Blue Jays are doing.
No, they're
The Blue
getting
Jays
worse.
the Blue Jays are doing Small ball does not win anymore.
No,
Doesn't win.
no.
Small ball does not win. It's proven. You've ar- you have proven that small ball does not win. You've proven it yourself.
Yeah, well, here's more
Years.
proof, Barbosa. Here's more proof. Last year, Teo Hernandez was a major part of the Dodgers winning the World Series. The Jays had a chance to sign him twice, did not. He hit over 30 home runs for the Dodgers.
And they had a chance to trade
Yeah,
for him
yeah, they did twice.
because he was in
Now,
Seattle.
the year before that, they traded Lourdes Gurriel and the catcher Moreno for
Yeah.
Barshall. The Diamondbacks made the World Series with those two guys. So it's like you can't get any worse than what they've done, and yet they're still here and they're still going with the same philosophy. And if I'm Vladdy Guerrero, and I'll end the show with this, if I'm Vladimir Guerrero, whether I speak English or not, I'm talking to my agent through my interpreter saying, wait a second. They had 10 years, 700 million for Vladdy. They had 15 years, 600 and whatever million for Juan Soto. Where's my money? That's what I'm asking. And if they're not going to pay me now, why the hell am I going to take any contract for them after the
You
season
want
when
my
they
honest
fail
opinion
again?
in this?
He's gonna end up on the Dodgers or the Yankees too.
You want my honest opinion in this? If I was Rogers, Ted Rogers, God
Mm-hmm.
rest his soul, he's not around, but the
Ed Rogers,
son,
yeah.
if I was the son, I would be like, I don't think I want this management team dealing Vladimir Guerrero's contract. I can't
Then they should have
because
fired him this season.
they've proven that they can't. They don't like to spend money. They don't spend money. They traded. I believe they're the ones that traded. What's the guy's name from the Indians? That was in the Indians. Now he's in the Mets. The shortstop.
Oh, what's his name again?
Ran, Rando? No, what's
No,
his
no,
name?
no. I know who you're talking about. He's at the.
Oh man, I forgot his name.
I know who it is. I just gotta look him up. I know who you're talking about.
You know the reason why they traded him? Because they didn't want to pay him.
I
And
want to
that
pay him.
guy, huh?
I know. Lindor, Francisco Lindor.
Yeah, Francis Lindor. There you go.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
didn't want to pay him.
Mm-hmm.
He was second in MVP voting last year
Yeah,
or
he
this
was
year.
great. Yep, he was great.
The
Yep.
only reason he lost is because Otani.
Yeah, Otani put up world record numbers. So
Yeah,
yeah. So
and that's the only reason he lost. How how do you not see that as an organization and you trade for him and you trade him
see
because what you didn't want to pay him?
what they're
This is
trying to
what I
do,
mean. This is
Barbosa, is
why I
they're
can't
trying to
trust this management team. I can't.
they're,
I can't.
they're they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. So they want to play small ball and hope it works out instead of playing with the big boys. And even though they have the money, like here's the thing that people, I think some Jays fans understand this. The Rogers has the money.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. This is everyone says, oh, the Dodgers, the Yankees are going to outbid us. No, they're not. They just choose to outbid us. The
Only
Jays
Steve
have
Cohen
the
can
money.
outbid us.
Right,
Even Steve,
right,
only Steve
right.
Cohen can outbid us
But
because that guy
what
doesn't
what
care about money.
what I want people to understand is the Jays are not a small market team anymore. They have the money, right? They have the money. If they really wanted to sign somebody, they have the money.
Exactly.
Okay? But they don't go above and beyond to get the player. That's the problem with this team. Okay? And you got that idiotic Cleveland Indians mentality of small ball that has been brought over here, and they're trying to do it their way as cheap as possible, and you're not going to win a World Series doing that. I know the Tampa Bay Devil Rays did it for years, okay? The Tampa Bay Rays. But they draft better than anybody in baseball outside of Houston. And that's why they're good every year, although last year they weren't
But
good.
they have their
Okay?
guys that hit home runs. Let's
But
not be
here's the
like
thing.
they still have guys that can hit home runs.
Right, the Jays don't hit home runs. But here's the thing, Barbosa. That management team was brought from Cleveland because the belief was they can draft well because Cleveland was built so well from the draft up that's the way to win a World Series. So let's bring them over here. They'll draft well
Hold,
for the Jays.
hold,
That
hold
hasn't
on.
happened.
Hold,
They haven't drafted
hold on.
well at all.
Yeah, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, before this management team came along, the Blue Jays they were in the top five in um,
We had
their
Alex Anthopoulos, and he was the one who got Vladdy Guerrero as a 16-year-old. Yes.
they had what's that term? Top five in the minor league system.
Yeah,
They were top
they
five
had
in
a
the minor
very
league
good
system.
right. And since these guys have taken over, we're in the bottom half of the league
Yeah, they're
from a
one of the
prospect.
worst.
Yes, yeah, and that's
So
why they were brought here. They were brought here for that reason because they had an eye for talent, and it has been a disaster. And here's the thing: they got rid of Alex Anthopoulos because they didn't like the way they didn't like his style. Okay, so he goes to Atlanta. Has won a World Series and has been great every year he's been there. Okay, they bring these fools in. Okay, and there's not been a single prospect that's been brought up from with these guys that has turned out well. Not one. And now what they're doing is because they're desperate is they're trading all their prospects to bring in guys that are already in the league because they're desperate and don't have anything down there that can come up and help them win now. So it's a disaster. And I said this before. When Dubas came to Toronto, he had an open cap. He had four really good, great players that were on the rise, and he screwed it up and made the team worse. Okay, and the Jays had a playoff team. They traded away all of their guys from the playoff team and got very little in return. And now we're here with a mediocre team that only makes the playoffs because 8 to 10 teams make the playoffs now and can't win a playoff game. I always say either you're going for the championship or you're last. Being in the middle sucks. And
they didn't
so,
only win they didn't only win a playoff game. They got
yep, yep, that's
smoked
right.
in the
Because
playoff
they can't hit
games.
the baseball. They can't hit in the playoffs. They have no one who can hit the baseball. And so now you're in a situation where you're probably going to lose the only guy on your team that can actually hit. And then what do? Bo Bichette and Vladdy are free agents after this season. So one way or the other, the Jays are
No,
starting over next year.
no. I don't think Vladdy is. Bichette,
Well,
yes.
Vladdy
Vladdy, I
is a
think.
free agent after this season. I know this for a fact. Yeah.
You sure?
They have the same contract, the same length of contract. They are both free agents after the season. So the Jays have this management team, in my opinion, has one season to fix
Oh
this
my God.
because Ross Atkins' contract is also up after this season. So one way or the other, the Jays are going to get a start over, and I expect it to happen next season. But we have to put up with one more year of these fools. But I just wanted to get that off my chest before we ended the show, Barbosa. Um,
Yeah,
now that we,
I've been contemplating this situation too. I laugh when I hear Blue Jays
it's
are
just
on
funny.
this,
It's just
Blue Jays
funny.
are on that.
Yeah.
Eh, Blue Jays are
Yeah.
on nothing.
No, they're a
And
sad sack team being run by two idiots, and that's I just wanted to get it out there.
yeah, the only thing they're wasting the money on is the renovations of the Sky Dome.
Yeah.
Other than that, and believe you me, this year the attendance is really gonna show.
And when the attendance
So
drops, then Ed Rogers will take notice. Okay, that's the only way he'll take notice because that's what he is. He's an attendance guy. So I just
because
wanted to
that's
say,
where you make that's where you
yeah,
make a lot of money is your attendance.
yeah. All right, guys.
So
I wanted to say thank you to Barbosa for coming on. It is midnight. We all wake up early to go to work in the morning. I wanted to have a live show with the guys for the first time.
no problem.
Unfortunately, it was just me and Barbosa.
I was waiting for
Hopefully,
Jose.
man.
I really wanted to go tit for tat with Jose.
Yeah,
I
I
wanted
think
to
a lot of
go.
people. We had a few guests on the show that wanted to see Jose and Gil too, but they must have fallen asleep or gotten drunk or one of the two. And so we hope to have them on the show next week. I like this live format, and so I hope to continue it with the other guys. We've had
Yeah,
some requests from other people to be on the show as well, and so Once we get this on a consistent basis, we'll take questions as well, and get comments, and we'll show them to the guys, and they'll be able to see and answer as well. So this
I like
is great. Um,
I like that
what's
we
that,
can have a
Barbo?
little bit of time to talk about a little bit of the
Yeah,
teams
yeah,
because
yeah, yeah,
there's some stuff that
yeah.
you want to talk about.
Especially towards the end of the year,
Um,
like when we're getting into the
yeah,
playoffs
in
and stuff.
regards to what's happening, playoffs, and especially in the playoffs coming up,
Yeah,
um, how the season's gonna turn out, what the players are doing.
yeah,
I kind of like that we have a little bit of time, a little bit of freedom
yeah. So yeah,
to
this is
have
supposed to be a
conversations, to
debut.
have some debates that I was hoping
Yes,
with Jose.
this was supposed to be a debut show with all four guys. So unfortunately, it wasn't. But we really hope to have them back next week. I think Gil. I'll try to have Gil and Jose on for the lock show in this format, where we have more time to discuss things and take questions and sort of have people watch us live. But this was great. I still got to have fun with Barbosa. There's a lot of subjects we can talk about. We can talk about football, soccer, hockey, anything we want on here that we want to bring up. So now that Barbosa knows it's an open forum, we can do that. And
Oh,
I'll say the same thing to
oh,
Jose and to Gil.
now that you mentioned something,
Yeah,
2030 World Cup, the host nations were announced today. I don't know
yeah,
if you noticed. I don't know if you know that.
I did know that.
Spain, Morocco, and Portugal.
Yes, I also heard that Saudi Arabia got the 2034 one, which
The
is a
2034 World Cup.
very controversial decision. We can talk about it
Well,
afterwards.
let's let's be honest. There's only one reason why. Well, I don't think that's the main reason.
Money,
I'm not saying
money is
it's
the
the main
reason.
reason. Money, the Ronaldo effect. The
He won't be
Ronaldo
around in
effect.
2034. He won't
No,
be
he's
around
not
in
gonna be. I'm
2034.
not. Listen, he's not gonna be around. But he was the big. He was the first big player to go to the Saudi Arabia. He
Yeah,
signed a deal with in the League, right? So obviously that kind of helped. That helped. That helped a lot because
yeah,
a lot of players followed suit because obviously it was because of money. That's the
yeah,
only reason why they went there.
yeah.
But just wanted to throw that out there that the World Cup was announced in 2030.
Yeah, we're gonna have now that we have shows like this, we're gonna have a lot more time and to talk about a whole bunch of different subjects. So when football ends, we will have this format, and we won't have that dry period in the summer. We'll have plenty of opportunity to talk about soccer and other sports, and so these guys are pretty good soccer experts. So that'll be fun to talk about the Champions
And I
League.
think we should do. Uh, we'll talk after, but I think
Yeah, we'll
I
talk
want to
after.
run something by you.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of discussions now about what we can do now that we're doing this live. Obviously with the new Champions League format and how that's working and how that's going to look, we can talk about, obviously we can talk about the Portuguese league, and that will get us definitely more viewers because everyone that Barbosa, Jose, and Gil know watches the Portuguese league, and so we can talk about that and get more people subscribing and looking at this show from that standpoint. We can talk about the fact that Manchester United took the Portuguese coach there that had his team rolling, and they've lost four in a row since he's left, which is very sad for them. I believe it's Porto, correct, or Sporting, lost their coach, and they haven't won a game since. I think it's very very sad.
I
So
mean,
they, you know,
that's saying that this guy's a very good. Well, he's always been considered a good coach, but now you can. He's got a lot of work to do with Man
with
United
the big boys now,
because
with the big boys now, yeah,
yeah, like um, they haven't played a terrible game. Don't get me wrong;
no,
they've lost, but it's not like they haven't played terrible because
yeah, they got a flawed roster. They got a lot of
they
work
still
to do.
yeah they have very flawed roster. He's a
Yeah,
very good coach.
yeah.
I think he'll make. I think next year we'll be making some changes, and I wouldn't say they'll be ready to win anything, but watch out for Man United next year.
All right, so there you go,
Watch
guys.
out.
You can see there's a lot we can talk about. I watch
Yeah.
and cover a a lot of different sports. It's just that usually I do football and basketball, but I can talk about any sport. I watch hockey all the time. I follow just about everything, including wrestling. I'll probably have Barbosa and Jose on after the Monday Night Raw, which is going to debut on Netflix. That is going to be a big show, and we'll probably come on here and talk about that. Get some WWF fans on here. We can do a live, show after it's on and talk about that as well. So there's lots of options. So stay tuned for a lot of new content on the Reese Report. I'd like to thank everyone who watched, has come on, has commented. I'll be sharing the show after. We're at an hour and 50 minutes, just after midnight. Not every show will be this long, but I hope you enjoyed the content and watch it. And I really hope to have Loudmouths Jose and Gil back next week, because in a live format, I can't wait to hear them, because Tony's sparring partner was missing tonight, and he's probably sleeping somewhere on the couch. And he's going to wake up and send us pics and wonder what he was missing. So have a good watch here and enjoy, and then hopefully we'll have them on either tomorrow or next week. Yeah. So for the month of North Angeles, that's Tony Barbosa. We'll put the picks on after when I get my picks from Gil and Jose. And we'll see you next week on the next Reese Report. Do not hit my music for now, because we're just going to end the stream. But stay tuned, like, subscribe, and comment, and we'll see you next week on the Reese Report. All right.